Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is Market Today. Well, a new week has started. Remember, it was the last week very volatile, but we had a fantastic end on Friday. The benchmark indices last week ended on a strong note driven by broad-based buying across the sectors. In fact, the Nifty recorded its best single-day gain of 2.4% in the last 4.5 months on November 22nd as well, when we shut shop before the weekend. And even as we begin this week, indications are that the markets could be poised for a sharper run going forward from here. Why? Because the markets are set to give a big thumbs up to Maharashtra election results. Remember, BJP's comfortable victory and is definitely going to be a big sentiment booster. Maharashtra is 13% of India's GDP and 9% of the total population, and a solid political stability in Maharashtra after a long time is sure to get the stock markets up in cheers as well. The NDA victory in Maharashtra is definitely going to be a bullish sentiment booster and will also drive the indices higher as well. We've also seen that the GIFT Nifty is already pointing out at a 400 point of an uptick that you could see today. So an upwards of 24,000 kind of an opening is what you could be expecting. And of course, this is the domestic developments on political front, which is going to be taking center stage in this new week at the beginning at least. However, keep in mind that the global uncertainties are still there for us to keep one eye on, including the escalating Russia-Ukraine conflict, and that remains a concern which we will continue to help you out. How are the global market cues shaped up right ahead of this week's opening? Well, the Dow Jones in the US, it closed at record high levels. We did see the S&P 500 also gain for the fifth consecutive session in a row. The Nasdaq did underperform due to losses in Nvidia and Alphabet, but did end above the flat line even on Friday as well. For the week, we've seen in the US markets, Dow Jones closed 2% higher, S&P 500 and Nasdaq gain about 1.7% each. The US dollar has consecutively gained for the 8th week, and we need to keep but it's slightly lower in this morning. What we also will keep an eye on is the crypto world. Remember, Bitcoin rally has probably stalled after nearing that $1 lakh mark. It's not yet been able to cross that. We'll see how it moves from here on. Brent crude futures, however, have risen by 1.2% to settle at $75 per barrel, while the WTI crude has climbed by 1.6% to close at $71 a barrel as well. Gold prices have soared past the $2,700 mark for the first time in over 2 weeks, driven by the safe haven demand as well. Now, apart from this, the markets in the Asia Pacific region have also been seen rising this morning. The S&P ASX 200 time traders are also awaiting a slew of economic data from the region this week. The Nikkei 225 and the S&P ASX 200 were gaining about nearly 2% and 0.7% higher respectively in the morning trading session. And as I pointed out, it's the GIFT Nifty, which is an indicator of how the Indian benchmark indices will open this morning. It's already indicating an over 400 points cap up trade for the Nifty in this morning trading session, and over 1% of an uptick right here. Remember, overseas investors, they've remained net sellers of the Indian equities for the 38th consecutive session on Friday. The selling has tad bit reduced. The domestic institutional investors have remained net buyers for 13 straight sessions. So on the FPI front, we've seen them sell stocks worth about 1278 odd crores, while we have seen that the domestic institutional investors, they were buyers of the markets in the Indian markets out to the tune of 1722 odd crore rupees as well. So definitely dollar for dollar, and DIIs remain consistently in a buying spree right there. The key stocks that you could be really looking at in today's trading session for you, a whole host of them. HDFC Bank, let's look at that one. The private sector lender has secured new car loans by securitized new car loans by issuing the pass-through. Again, remember viewers, this is the space that really created a lot of nervousness among investors over the last week due to the US SEC indictment of Gautam Adani and 7 other officials. So there'll be further developments on that front. Remember, Group's founder and chairman Gautam Adani and his nephew Sagar have been summoned to now explain their stand on the US SEC allegation of paying $265 million of a bribe to the Indian officials to secure lucrative solar power contracts right there. So that will be in focus. What we'll also keep an eye out on is Zomato. Why am I talking about this stock? Because Zomato will now become part of the benchmark BSE Sensex, replacing JSW Steel from December 23rd. This is part of the latest reconstitution announced by the Asia Index Private Limited, which is a subsidiary of BSE as well. So keep an eye out on Zomato. Apart from this also, Zomato shareholders have given an approval to the proposal that the company had to raise a capital through QIP of about 8,500 crore rupees as well. This was granted via a special resolution that was passed through a postal ballot that was conducted through remote e-voting. Now, apart from this, keep an eye out on PVR Inox as well. Why the company will be having 2,000 screens by the end of 2026, with more focus on expansion in the southern markets, tier 2 and tier 3 cities, as has been announced by the company. What we will also keep an eye out on is realty stocks. 26 major listed real estate firms in India have sold properties worth about 35,000 crores during the September quarter, with Godrej Properties reporting the highest sales bookings. So that is something that we will continue to keep an eye out on as well. We'll also see how Patanjali Foods will react. Baba Ramdev led Patanjali Ayurved's total income has been reported with a surge of 23% to 9,335 crore rupees in FY24, and we have seen that this is also a sharp improvement on that front. Is Bank of India. Apart from this, Signature Global, again from the real estate pack, the company now plans to launch multiple housing projects worth 50,000 crores in the Delhi NCR market over the next 3 years as part of its expansion plan here on the strong consumer demand that the real estate sector is looking at. So keep an eye out on that too. Apart from this, you can also look at HDFC Life Insurance Company. Why? Because private general insurer ICICI Lombard General has said that it has has acquired a 0.19% equity stake in the company for about 233 crore rupees. So that also could be an important one to note. Another important factor that you could look at, viewers, is which is going to be another positive for the markets, is the MSCI November rejig has kicked in today. So MSCI November rejig will be seeing BSE, Voltas, Alchem Laboratories, Kalyan Jewellers and Oberoi Realty becoming a part of the MSCI Global Standard Index. And as a consequence, there are expectations that the Indian market may see FII passive inflows to the tune of $2.5 billion due to this rebalance. And this is as per Nuvama Research has spoken to us about right there. Let's actually welcome our guest on board. We have Vineet Bulinshkar, Head of Research at Ventura Securities, now joining in. Warm welcome to you, Vineet, and good morning to you. Do you really expect this Mahayuti victory to further fuel some more sentiment boosting factors to the markets now? There were already early indications that we got on the counting day on Friday, and now that the comfortable victory has come in and a stable political standpoint in Maharashtra, how do you expect the markets to react?
So I'm expecting the markets to open, which is obviously supported by GIFT Nifty, but there could be some giving off of some gains because we are going to rally almost 300 plus points from Friday's close.
Okay, got it. But do you see, Vineet, that somehow we are getting an indication that an interim bottom may have been made to after, like you said, exuberance that we may see in the markets?
See, what is happening is overnight news is that the West is desperately looking for a war.
Yeah.
And despite the parlays by the incoming US president and his team to, find a solution to backdoor channels, France has said that there are no red lines in this war and that they're going to give Ukraine the weapons that they want. So despite the fact that, Ukraine has virtually lost the war,
Yeah.
they're not ready to accept defeat and, they want to continue with this. So it's very important to, you know, keep all these negative factors in mind, even while you're quite getting bullish in India.
Okay, so one has to keep an eye out on what the global political or geopolitical tensions continue to remain an overhang right there. But Vineet, how about the Adani Group stocks? Last week we saw sharp downturn on the basis of US indictment, but the next day we also saw at least recovery in 5 odd stocks within the 10 stocks that were listed as well. How are you really assessing the situation for Adani Group stocks? Are they going to be volatile for the time being till the time more clarity emerges on this case?
So, I was listening to some expert on YouTube where he was talking about the situation. A lot of funny things have gone in, and they're not very sure whether how good the case is or where it'll stand, and Adani still has a chance. So he says, for example, if the matter is for, say, so many million dollars, the claim that is the suit that has been filed is for far less, and there are no substantiated proof of money trail or everything that is to be established. So, you know, I am not very hopeful of anything of the negative happening with the Adani group. I'm quite positive that, the things will flow through. So I think if you have the patience, if you have the deep pockets, I think you should buy and sit tight.
Buy and sit tight on the Adani Group stocks right there. We will come to you on the specific stocks that you will be keeping an eye out on, but let's quickly look at the pre-opening trade. You are looking at a move upwards of 400 as was being indicated by the Gift Nifty trends. 24,300 in the pre-opening is at least with us. Viewers, a 1.6% surge on the Nifty. Let's see what are the key contributing factors to this one, especially the heavyweight counters within the IT, the banking stocks as well. So we'll let TCS, Tech Mahindra, these are the keys. ICICI Bank and even Reliance Industries. These are the bank in front of you already. 1.7% higher at 1300 levels. So ICICI Bank is indicative of a positive start. Nearly 3% tick at almost 1800 levels right. Sentiment booster trade as well. Within Reliance Industries is also indicative of 1.7% opening higher. 1287. Let's also look at some of the other stocks within the large cap basket. Infosys is opening about 0.8% higher at 1919 odd level. So that also could be positive because the IT space is also looking at positivity flowing in on that front too. Let's look at TCS is also up by 1.2%. Let's look at what Zomato is doing in the pre-opening trades. Remember, the news flow that it will be included in the Sensex pretty soon, replacing JSW Steel. Let's see how that one is also, reacting to that news. A 3% uptick at 272 on Zomato as well. Let's also look at a few other stocks like BSE, right there, which during the MSCI Global Rejig, these will be important to track today. 4850 for BSE right there, 2.7% higher. That's the kind of move that we are seeing. Even Voltas is indicative of a 4% uptick that we could see. So looks positive right in the opening trades. Let's see whether this continues to be staying true in the opening trades as well. But Vineet, also help us understand, of course, we'll come back to the Adani Group stocks, but overall, what is looking promising to you after a near-term interim bottom has been made in the markets? Where are you buying afresh?
So I think banking stocks look very good. HDFC Bank has held out, the outperformers at HDFC Bank. Uh, then uh, Bharti Airtel looks good, although it has been shaving off a bit, but I think that looks good. Tech has really outperformed. So purely from a trade point of view, tech is looking to, rally well. As long as the US, so, now if you want to understand what will happen to the Indian markets, I think the Indian markets are pretty steady. They've recovered their mojo. And now we will rally in sync with the mother market, that is the US. So
Okay.
if US sneezes and catches a cold, you know what you have to look out for as a sell signal. And that is the way to play.
Okay, got it. So the large part of the negativity is out of the way, and we may be now looking to sync with the global markets and move in tandem on that front. Banking stocks look positive to you. How about the IT stocks, particularly as well? Uh, Vineet, would you really look at some of the large caps right there, or are the mid caps more in a preferred zone? Stocks like Coforge or Persistent, for that matter.
Yeah, so mid cap and the large cap, they look
Okay.
very good.
Mm-hmm.
LTTS and HCL Tech, these are some of the stocks that did report good numbers. I think some of the defense stocks will also perform very well. They've been
Okay.
quiet for some time. So defense provides you with a low risk buy into this market, which is exploding on the higher side. And PSU banks look very, very interesting because they're goddamn cheap.
And since you just talked about that, there is an indication that some of the shipbuilder stocks are going to be opening higher, 4.5% uptick being reflected on Garden Reach. And these stocks, we do know, have been battered the most in the 5-6 week of a downturn that we saw in the markets. Defense stocks have actually lost nearly 30-40% and even more from their peaks right there. So have you selected for yourself, which part of the defense would you be looking at? Will it be the shipbuilder stocks like Mazicon, Cochin, or Garden Reach for that matter? Or would you stick with an HAL or a BEL, the large caps, equipment suppliers as well? How would you really look at these pockets?
So, the shipbuilder stocks look good because there are some three or four bills that are going to be presented in the parliament for approval, in this winter session. And the winter session flags off from tomorrow. Today is the, the day when not in many decisions are raised. It's just
Yeah.
a introductory session. So I believe that there's a lot of opportunity in the shipping sector and stocks that can rebound.
Okay, got that. And you also really now look at, should one stick with the first rung ones, stocks like SBI, PNB, Bank of Baroda maybe, or can one also reverse?
So, those, obviously today we won't be able to catch the larger ones, but PNB I think could be there, should be on your trading basket today. And the other stocks to look for would be the second rung Karnataka Bank, uh, which looks comes to my mind. So
Okay.
these are some of the stocks that we can look at to buy into this bull run.
Okay, got that. So that's as far as the PSU banks are also concerned. Let's also look at how Adani Group stocks are opening in the pre-opening trade, and now the markets seem to be settled 346 points higher at 24,253 for the Nifty in the pre-open trade. All the sectors are nearly, one. Anywhere between 1 to 2.5% higher in trade. So we could be looking at a also seem to be in a strong zone. Is indicative of oil and gas. Even the broader markets seem to be opening up. But let's look at the Adani Group stocks. 3.9% uptick for Adani Enterprises. Adani Ports indicative of an uptick of 4.2% higher opening right there. Even beyond the Nifty, when we look at several other Adani Group stocks, let's pull up maybe Adani Green and Adani Energy Solutions. Adani Total is indicative of an opening of 4.5% higher. Adani Green also finally in the green. See, these were the two pockets that still remained largely in the red and battered even on day two when there were some signs of recovery in the other group stocks. Adani Energy also is indicative of a 4.5% kind of a green, purse strings loose.
So I think Ambuja Cement, Adani Ports, Adani Enterprises, and Adani Transmission Solutions are the four counters that I will go with. I think they're relatively got a lot of meat on them. There's a
Yeah.
intrinsic value is at least 40 to 50% higher on all of these. So all these four stocks appear attractive at current levels.
Okay, got that. Let's also welcome Vaishali Parekh on board. We also have Vaishali now joining in, Vice President Technical Research and Analysis at Prabhudas Leeladhar. Warm welcome to you, Vaishali. Good to have you with us. And finally, we are opening in a week where we could be seeing strong signs of green yet again. Tell us, how are you really looking at the market setup, or where will you be putting in your money today? Are you on mute by any chance, Vaishali? We couldn't hear you.
I am not.
Okay, now we can hear you. Okay, great.
Okay. Yes. So very good morning, all of you. And this is what we were all the green day in green today,
Yeah.
and we got a hint on Friday itself. So I guess now it's we would be seeing resistance at 24,350 for Nifty on near-term basis, and Bank Nifty around 53,000. So well, for now, I would say I'm sure many would have bought it on Friday, but
Yeah.
now it was a buying decline, and 23,200 should act as a crucial support for days to come. So yes, and now there are few stocks which have given a lot of clarity. I mean, especially banking stocks like Kotak Bank, even Mahindra and Mahindra, which we have often spoken about, and it has given
Yeah.
a breakout. So these are the stocks that one should focus on. And Baki, everything is looking fine, and time to start cherry picking good stocks.
Time to start cherry picking good stocks. Okay, Vaishali, where would you be really looking at in terms of the Adani Group stocks? Would you be a buyer in these stocks, or would you still stay away? There are already early signs of a green opening across the board.
So, well, safety first. I would look at ACC, Ambuja, Adani ports. But yeah, these are the stocks that I would be comfortable with. And if you see Ambuja, in fact, just last week on Friday itself, we saw that they were showing signs of bottoming out. Technically, also 390, 380 was a good support level. And from there, we are seeing a good bounce. So I guess these are good buying opportunities. And overall, cement stocks are doing well. So, besides that, we have spoken about this actually, Ramco
Yeah.
Cement that was doing very well. So I continue to stay positive. So besides that, we have spoken about this actually, Ramco
Yeah.
Cement that was doing very well. So I continue to stay positive on all these stocks. Attractive levels. So yes, I make trading positional trade strategy. Cash category, if you look on Friday, we saw good upward move coming in Swan Energy. That is also open strong. So yes, many stocks, again, we are getting a lot of opportunities.
Okay, so those are the key stocks that you could be really looking at. But Vineet, I wanted to bring you in also on this one other pocket, and that is the real estate space right there. That seems to be in the thick of action yet again. What we've heard is that, for this quarter, September quarter, at least sales worth about 35,000 odd crore rupees has taken place for this entire sector. It's been a robust demand that has, been seen across the board for large caps, for even the mid cap real estate majors right there. And we've seen stupendous performance. Of course, macro tech has been the outperformer. It still is indicative of a 6.5% uptick right there. Would you stick with the macro tech and its outperformance, or would you also go beyond it now within the real estate pack? What would you advise?
So we like Suntech Realty. I
Okay.
think they're doing a really splendid job out there. The worst of the drag on their Bandra properties is gone through BKC properties, and the new product launches have been really picked up like hotcake. So I think that is one stock which will do well. It's a slow mover. So, in this market, you have to always look for momentum versus value.
Yeah.
And considering our view on the markets, I think you should look at stocks which give you more comfort on the downside. So I think Suntech Realty looks very good.
Suntech Realty really looks very good at this point in time. Okay, Vaishali, to you, would real estate be in thick action today? Would you want to catch any of the momentum stocks?
Oh, yes, we had in fact recommended on Friday itself. Raymond
Yeah.
looks good. I guess that is good land bank. Even Loda Developers is technically very well placed.
Yeah.
And from the front line, I think DLF and Godrej Properties.
Okay, so Raymond, DLF, Godrej Properties is something that you could definitely look at, as Vaishali has pointed out, within the real estate pack right there. Let's again see market settled in. About a minute for the markets to open. We are seeing across the board a green screen, and that is going to be a welcome one for all the bulls who have been wanting to see this kind of move after a fairly long time. All the sectors are indicative of positive opening today, and within the Nifty also, we would just probably see few laggards, but overall 24,253 is where it settled in the pre-open. Let's see whether we go beyond it also or not. BEL, Shriram Finance, NTPC would be other stocks apart from the Adani stocks that could be opening in the green and in the positive zone. Even the PSU stocks could be also opening higher. There's an indication of 2.5% opening on the green side here, including stocks within even the railways package. There you have the first take, 315 points higher, 24,241. For the markets, and the Nifty Bank also opening about 1.3% higher at 51,826, almost a 700 point of an uptick right in the opening right there. Real estate stocks 3% higher for the index. Top moving sector, PSU banks 3% higher. Another move which is very, very. Let's look at oil and gas. Services, all the across the board, all the sectors indicative of a positive start. Adani Ports, top mover, 2.5% higher on the Nifty. Adani Enterprises also moving up now sharply higher, 3% up. BEL, Shriram Finance, NTPC as the top now sharply higher, 3% up. BEL, Shriram Finance, NTPC as the top movers. Punjab National Bank, all these stocks we have discussed with both Vineet and with Vaishali right in the opening trade as well. Let's look at the broader markets to see where there are sharp gains really coming in trade today. Are there any interesting names? Yes, right is up by 9%. Rail Vikas Nigam 8% higher in trade. So the railway stocks could be in thick action. Ircon International 5.5% higher. Come back strongly. Adani Green is opening about 5.7% higher as well. So beyond the Adani majors, Adani Ports and Enterprises within the Nifty, the other stocks which were battered black and blue last week are all also returning strongly in trade. Within the Nifty next 50 basket, let's look at what else is really moving up strongly. We also have stocks like Zomato, 5.5% higher at 278. That's going to be an interesting one to watch again in trade today. RDC PFC up in trade. You have BHEL that's up 4%. PNB, Macrotech Developers, HAL, Siemens. You also have stocks like NHPC, Coal India. They're all opening higher in trade. Let's look at the heavyweight IT stocks, 0.5% higher for the index. Let's look at how are these performing. Coforge is almost up 1%. No stronger moves, but yes, up almost 1% for most of the mid-cap names right there within the IT pack. Let's look at the banking names then. Very important to look at where this move is really coming in from. The Nifty Bank is up very, very strongly in trade. Let's look at the HDFC Bank counter because that's going to be a heavyweight mover in trade today, 1.8% higher. You also have ICICI Bank that's opening 1.8% up. Axis Bank 1.5% higher. Then within the PSU banks, you have PNB that's opening 3.8% up, Bank of Baroda 3.5% higher, Can Bank also opening by 3% up, and SBI opening nearly 3% higher in trade. Banking stocks definitely up on the strong move right there. Vaishali, coming to you very quickly, how are you looking at the market move and the strong surge across the board? 364 points higher now.
So as we said, 350 was our target resistance for this week. So let's see what happens there. So I would say continue holding. 350 as far as trading perspective is concerned, one should book if in index and wait it out, buy again in decline. So that would be my strategy because it's a good gap up opening and 350 can be an hurdle. So I would watch the market at those levels.
Right, absolutely. Vineet, let me just come across to you as well. Within the opening, what looks good to you? Within the Adani pack, are you going to be looking at some more ads today?
Yeah, as we mentioned, they are way off their previous prices, and all of them look good even into these this big rally or surge that we have seen. But I would just step back and buy them, let the markets cool off a bit, and then re-enter or enter these stocks at slightly whenever the market has finds its levels for the day.
Okay, got that. Vaishali, let me just come to you again. PSU banks, that's the space that is actually increasing, sharply in trade today. 3.4% higher for this one as well. Any key PSU banks that you would like to take for momentum today?
I would say SBI, Bank of Baroda, PNB, all are good. So I would say yes, good buying opportunity. But it's not only the banks, actually. If you see PSU stocks like ONGC, SAIL, they all are at such attractive levels. I think SAIL also showing signs of bottoming out. This, in fact, we had recommended last week, right from 112. It's 115. So I guess all these stocks are fair value to start buying. So yes, besides the PSU banks, my view is also positive for ONGC or for Coal India, also SAIL. These are the stocks that I would be looking at furthermore.
Okay, and the markets are gaining further momentum now to 24,288 right now. Let's look at some of the other baskets today, 3.8% higher. Vaishali, how does this one look?
Shriram Finance? I'll
Yes.
just have to. Yes. So Shriram Finance is 2959. That's the one. I think it's taken support at 200-day moving average. It's opened with a gap up. So not in a hurry. Let it settle down. Let it retrace a bit. 2800 should act as a very good support to stand by.
Okay. Vineet, you talked about how defense may now start to look positive. Some of the stocks you also mentioned that you would be looking at buying at these levels as well. How about the railway space? That also was another space that was battered black and blue in the recent correction. Some of the stocks are actually inching up sharply higher in trade today. The ones that I mentioned in the market opening comments, stocks like RITES, for instance, IRCON International, RVNL, they are all coming back sharply in trade. Look at an IRCON International 7% move that can be seen. Do you think this momentum is here to stay for some of these railway pack stocks?
So, buying anything about 2% opening levels in this market, you know, presents the odds slightly against you. And as I mentioned, I would just wait for the correction to, intraday cool off somewhere and then into the market, because that is the best way to play this.
Okay, got that. Let's take a look at some of the other interesting names. Vaishali, for you, within the power space and the PSU space, PFC and RDC is showing strong momentum in trade today. How would you look at these two? Is it wise to chase the momentum here?
I would also feel the same, that no point getting into the stocks which are already so much open in a gap up
Correct.
scenario. I would say now it's a time where market is showing clarity. Look for good value based buying and then hold it as a position. Market settle down, but we are getting the clarity that for now 23,200 is the support, which is a formation right now. So I would say look for good quality stocks which are showing good levels.
Okay, got that. Vineet, to you, I want to understand mid and the small cap space, the broader markets really, do they appear attractive to you, or will large caps be safe space to be in since we do not know what's up ahead amidst all the uncertainty?
No, if you're buying this market and if you're bullish on the market, you should also look at the mid cap and the small cap stocks. Because what will happen is that, as I told you, that unless and until the external environment turns negative or too negative, we will have got the momentum now and we will continue to trade in the positive side. So, stocks will keep joining the rally. And so we have to be careful just to keep watch on the environment, that the, news doesn't turn very messy. And as I told you, that's the one of the the development in the Ukraine war is what we need to watch out for.
Okay, got it. Vaishali, to you, in the broader markets, anything that catches your attention right in the opening?
So, well, I would look at now, few of the consumer stocks which are showing signs of bottoming out. First, I told you Tata, ONGC. The other stock to my liking is Tata Consumer. Also, SS and Bharat Forge, they are well placed and they are showing good momentum. So, I do like these stocks at this level.
Okay, got it.
Place and they are showing good momentum. So, I do like these stocks at this level.
Okay, got it. There is real estate stocks that are also pulling up in trade 2.5% higher, but some retracement on the benchmark levels is already what we have seen, right? Like how Vaishali has also pointed out right there. IT stocks are the ones which are only 1/4% higher in trade right now. Even the pharma, that's up just nearly 0.7%. Defense is really, taking a backseat. It's the PSU banks, the old economy stocks that are actually doing very well at this point in time. IRF NBFC, another railway stocks that's now moved to the top spot amidst the top performers in the PSU space, almost 5% higher. Let's look at Zomato, for instance. Let's again come to both you, Vineet and Vaishali, to understand how would you look at Zomato right now. 6% higher, nearly 280 is back on Zomato. What should investors do here, Vineet?
Uh, we have been speaking about Zomato being a kind of a fully valued kind of stock. However, now we need to add to this the new developments that have happened. The new district app is opened up. There are a lot of events taking place in the country. And the flair for these events is very, very strong, vibrant. These tickets get sold out almost instantaneously. Dining out is a pleasure. You don't get tables anywhere. It's so crowded. So I think Zomato, if you do a walk around what they represent, I think that it's doing very well, and the fact that it is going to be added to the Nifty, or to the one of the indices, and also coming into uh, the FNO side of trading, we can see some positive momentum build up out here.
Okay. Vaishali, would you chase this momentum in Zomato, or do you think some resistance is going to come back after this recent run-up has come in?
I think it's back on track because of resistance at these levels.
Okay. Vinay, have you assessed Zomato versus the Swiggy opportunity for retail investors right now on the valuation as well? Right now, after the listing and the consolidation playing out right now, do you think Swiggy may be a better pick?
Swiggy has more, so as I told you, the intrinsic value of Swiggy for us comes out to 460, and if they show some levers of growth, where they can cut costs and move up, it can go as much as 510. So today, if you're getting at 400 and change on the high, on the lower side, I think it looks very, very more attractive than Zomato, purely in terms of valuation.
Purely in terms of valuations, looks more attractive than Zomato at this point in time. We'll keep that in mind right there. Viewers within the NBA at Hudco, for instance, that's up by 4%. Edelweiss is another 3.5% higher in trade today. GIC Housing Finance. You also have stocks like Geo Financial Services, Canfim Homes. They're all up 0.5% higher in trade. That's the kind of move that you're seeing across the board within the NBFC space as well. What else can we pick up? Let's look at the small cap basket yet again to see how some of the smaller stocks are moving. It's all across the railway stocks. RITES is up 10%, Railtel is up nearly 10%, Aircon International 7% higher, Jupiter Wagons about 6% up, Titagarh Rail also up by about 6%, Tribeni Turbine also up by 4%, a related stock within the railway story. So you have across the board sharp momentum coming in the railway stock. So we'll keep in mind all of those. Raymond, something that Vaishali pointed out within the real estate pack, that's also moving up pretty strongly, almost 5% higher in trade right now. So that's another one that you could be really looking at within the real estate basket. The index itself is up by 3%, and within the Godrej Properties up 5%, Oberoi Realty up 4%, Mahindra Lifespace is up 3.3%, DLF up 3% as well, Sobha Limited also up by 0.5%, and Suntech Realty is something that even Vineet mentioned is something that we can look at. All across the board, you are seeing strong moves within the real estate story as well. Okay, let's look at the FNO space now. Vaishali, beyond PFC, beyond Godrej, PFC, REC and Godrej Properties, what else is looking attractive is BEL, for instance, 4.6% higher. Tell us, how are you looking at this momentum that built on from the last week on stocks like HAL and BEL within the defense majors?
I think they were very attractive, especially we got an opportunity to buy this.
Yeah.
And we saw it was sideways. There was nothing really happening much. But we are seeing in the stock, we are seing an uptrend setting in. So view remains positive and buy at every decline. And to those who are already holding, continue.
All right, Vineet, we'll come back to you now to help us understand where would you still believe investors really need to keep a very cautious eye and need to probably hold on their fresh purchases, and where there is conviction is still not coming in despite these bounces return on the benchmarks and across the board in the markets?
So I think consumer stocks lack the mojo. I think the consumer story has still to, not caught up. We need to have one more quarter of good earnings come in
Yeah.
before, you can really go and buy into these.
Okay, got that. So that's the view. All right. Vaishali, for you, where do you think investors should not be really looking at the current levels? Things still don't look, there is no clarity in terms of a trend building in.
Well, I think right now it's an opportunity for every sector. So
Okay.
opportunities. So I would say go for good stocks.
Okay, how about the oil and gas story, Vaishali? Do you think something is coming back for good now within the your outperformers of the past? OMCs, the way they have rallied in the first part of 2024, maybe even the upstream majors. Anything looks good here?
So value-wise, they all look good, but OMCs, it's very difficult to gauge. It's good for momentum or short-term trading strategies. So I would maintain that IOC, HVBP all have come at good support levels. So good for trading strategy.
Good for a trading strategy. Okay, got that. Vineet, coming back to you now. Another space that I wanted you to help us understand is pharma, which you have consistently talked about on the channel also before. Be it the mainstream pharma companies, the diagnostic chains as well. You've talked about a lot. For a retail investor who has minimal exposure to pharma right now and somebody who wants to get into the pharma story after a large part has already played out, what will be the best strategy? How do you want them to spread their money across various segments of pharma?
So I think CDMO is the more attractive space. They be like Piramal Pharma. If you're looking at domestic pharma players, we like Eris Life Sciences. If you're looking to buy the Para 4 drug development company, we like Natco Pharma. So these are and if you want to play with the traditional companies that export to the US market, generics, then I think Sun Pharma is a safer bet to go.
Okay, got that. Anything that looks good to you within the pharma bag, Vaishali?
So I would go with the Sun Pharma to start
Sun
with.
Pharma.
Sun Pharma, yes. And the other ones to our liking is Lupin and Cipla.
All right. Sun Pharma, Lupin, Cipla is something that you could definitely look at within the pharma story and fold right there. But I also wanted to get a sense on the metal stocks as well. This space also showed a sharp momentum in last week right there. We did see all of these stocks buzzing strongly. Of course, with the external factors and how things are shaping up in China will be key for us to monitor even now. But the metal story, do you really like as a structural story, or do you continue to believe it is a cyclical move and one only needs to focus when there is momentum here, Vineet?
See, the unless and until the growth story in the Western markets picks up, I don't think that the metal stocks will do well. China is still reeling under a lot of pressure. And so, it's definitely purely a cyclical trade, small allocations, and more towards non-ferrous side like Hindalco and, Vedanta. So that's the way to play this market.
Okay, got that. Well, Vineet, we will thank you on that note for being with us on this special edition to share with us all those views, which we always appreciate that you share with our viewers, and hope you have a fantastic time till the time we meet you very soon on the other edition on Market Today and on Daily Girls. Thank you so much for being with us on this
Thank you
one.
for having me.
All right, Vaishali, let's get back to some of the momentum stocks. BEL you talked about, it's moved to the top spot on the Nifty. It's 5% higher right now, so it's picked up its pace on that front. HAL is also looking good at this point in time. That's also up by about 4.5% higher. So these are the spaces that have already, looking very, very good. Within the FNO space, there's one more stock, and that's the capital goods related stock. Siemens is something that I wanted to discuss, which we haven't discussed for a fairly long time. What are the charts suggesting here for Siemens?
I think all these stocks, whether we talk about ABB, Siemens, or Cummins, all are looking very attractive at these levels. Siemens, I think, again came close towards its 200-day moving average, and now it's sustaining above the cluster of moving averages. So as long as this stock sustains above 7230 levels, I think near-term resistance comes at 7230. Once we see the stock moving past that, we can expect another round of momentum for target of 8,000.
Okay, got that. So that's as far as the capital goods related space is concerned. But it's railways, and railways clearly that's definitely catching all our attention. Jupiter wagons, something that we have discussed in the past, that was one of the outperformers when the railway story was unfolding strong. 7% higher in trade right now. How would you really look at this one, Jupiter wagons right now, Vaishali?
So Jupiter wagons also, I think, should do well. Resistance, it's a range, 526. That would be the target that one can look for from here on. And once we see this, I think it will be a good long-term trend line breakout. And then that would be leading us for higher targets of 600 and so on. So right now it's a buy also with 420 as support. And I would say look for a target of 530.
Okay, got it. So that's as far as Jupiter wagons is concerned. The entire space seems to be in thick momentum, so you can keep an eye out on that one as well. Within the PSU space, I'll also keep an eye out on NTPC. Why? Because Bernstein today came out with a brokerage house report with an outperform rating on this one and a target price of 440. And they believe that there is an accelerating power demand, which is a key trigger for this one. There are evening shortages, and there are also cost of debt advantage that the company has. There is a receivable advantage, and while they do believe that there are limited levers for the upside beyond this, they don't see a significant downside on NTPC. How should one be really looking at this power space, particularly Vaishali? We've seen an outperformance in the past, stocks within the producers, the transmitters, and even equipment providers within the power space all across the board. How would you look at the NTPC power grid kind of stocks right now vis-a-vis the others?
So let's start with NTPC. There right now, of course, they've corrected a bit, and even on a larger term time frame, say on a weekly chart, it's sitting on the support. So the low what we witnessed that was around 350 levels, these levels should not break. And once we see the stock sustaining above 380, I guess it's a good round of upward move to set in. And if you talk about Power Grid was already doing very well last week. Right now, it's just taking a breather, but overall, it looks quite promising.
Okay, got it. So that's as far as the power space is concerned. Let's also look at the tourism and the hospitality space that we haven't touched today. Of course, railways is one part of the tourism story that we did discuss. But hotels and the hospitality space, Chalet Hotels is up 3.5%. You have Easy Trip Planners that's up 3.6%. Several others like Restaurant Brand Asia. You also have several other stocks. BLSE International, that's also moving up smartly. Thomas Cook. These are the stocks that are buzzing in trade. Lemon Tree, it was IHCL that was at record high levels in the last week too. Anything that looks interesting within the hospitals and the hospitality space right now, Vaishali? A lot of winter travel will start happening, holidays coming in, and the Christmas theme also coming in strong. Do you think this will be back in momentum?
I definitely agree, because overall we have seen good action coming in Indian hotel. We would not buy right now, but along with not to miss aviation, so Indigo also, and in hotels, bullish on Chalet as well as Lemon Tree. All these should do good. So these are the stocks that we would be focusing on.
Okay, got that. So that's the view that's coming in on the tourism space stocks right there. But one more space within which we haven't discussed is the brokerage houses spaces as well. You know, stocks like CAMS are moving up about 2.5% KFin Tech also in action. We've seen these broking companies also do well in the recent past. Where would you continue to buy even after the recent move has unfolded, Vaishali?
So I would say CAMS, CDSL, they are all, I think, in the portfolio. But along with that, Edelweiss, they all look good at these levels. So of course, a disciplined trading strategy.
Time as well. Anything else that you spotted, Vaishali, that I forgot to ask you, maybe that one can keep an eye out on in this buzzing market?
So, well, insurance stocks. Let's talk about insurance stocks. CDS. I mean, LIC, HDFC Life and SBI, they are showing momentum. So I think this is the sector that one can look into.
Okay, insurance stocks are something that you can definitely look at. Okay, one stock that I found that we can discuss is Balmer Lorry. A strong move of 7.5% in trade today. It's moved up with strong volumes as well, and one can actually see a very strong surge coming in at the day's high point for Balmer Lorry. Vaishali, have you been looking and tracking at this stock at all? This is one of the favorite stocks that Mayuresh has often discussed on our channel. Technically, does this really look in a good looking and tracking at this stock at all? This is one of the favorite stocks that Mayuresh has often discussed on our channel. Technically, does this really look in a good zone?
Because long-term trend is very good. It is currently at a good level. The indicators are also showing that it's bouncing back oversold. So I guess watch for that as the support 210, 200. Yes. So I think we are very close to the support level, and it can be bought positional trade and look for a target of 280 from here on to start.
Okay, got that. So one can actually look at Balmer Lorry as well from here on. We were discussing the power space. There are others also that are about 4 odd percent. Also look at some of the other renewable energy majors, wind matter as well, which has also been at maybe for instance as well, to see how renewable energy space stocks are moving up. Another one that we could look at. So Irida is also up by 5% in trade today. When we look at beyond the majors like we discussed on the power space, renewable energy specific stocks, what looks good to you?
So yes, all these stocks that you mentioned, Suzlon, all these were good buying opportunities last week when we saw market correcting.
Yeah.
And I guess even Sterling and Wilson, that looks quite fine. These all look good to me.
Okay, got that. So even now they look good at this point in time. What else is buzzing? Let's look at maybe the agri related stocks are actually doing well. One can also keep an eye out on these rice. So KRBL is up 3.5%, Chaman Lal Setia is up by 3% as well. Kohinoor Foods is another up 1.7% odd in trade right now. So that space, I'm just mentioning some of these pockets so that you can keep an eye out on as to what is buzzing in trade. Let's look at a gems in the jewelry space as well that we haven't discussed, and that could be interesting to track. I think Titan is something that you had discussed with us, Vaishali, last week as well. That's up 1.5% higher right now. You have other stocks within the gold jewelry space that are also buzzing in trade. Would you again stick with Titan at the current levels, and or are there other names within the gems and the jewelry space that would look attractive? Because again we are looking at how geopolitical tensions are increasing, and after that brief dip, gold is again back at $2,700 an ounce. So things may be again looking to be in favor of safe haven stocks and of course metals that could propel further these jewelry stocks. And of course the wedding season also starting. That's all that.
Spoken so many times, I still maintain a positive bias for a trading target of 3,500 to 3,700. It's a support. And along with that, yes, all these stocks, Moti Sens and Senko, all are in a good uptrend. So, but very hard to give buy recommendations at these levels. But yes, I think Senko has once again come to a good level. One can look at this.
Okay, got that. One can look at Senco as well at this point in time. Okay, PSU banks have further garnered more momentum. The index is now nearing a 4% uptick. Strong move being seen across the board, but let's look at the top key contributors right now. Indian Bank has shot up 5% higher. You have PNB that's up 4.8%. Bank of Baroda, Central Bank of India, PSB, UCO Bank, Canara Bank, all of them upwards of 4% higher in trade, and all the stocks definitely in the green. PSU banks is definitely that you should not keep your eyes off in trade today. Anything else that comes up fresh within the PSU banks that one could look at, Vaishali, today?
No, not really.
Okay, got that. Okay, Vaishali, we'll leave you at that. Thank you so much for being with us on this morning edition and sharing with us so many trading ideas and pockets where investors can continue to look for momentum. Let's hope that this stays on and builds on from here, and we'll have you back very soon on Business Today. Thank you so much for your time. All right, viewers, what we'll do is we'll start quickly wrapping up the morning trading edition for all of you. It's been a great start for this week and for this day. 24,291 right now. We've pulled off from the day's high point that we saw in the initial minutes of trade. But definitely we are holding up strong, over 1.5% uptick on the benchmark index front. And the Nifty Bank also now inching higher above 52,170 odd levels. Over a 1,000 point gain for the Nifty Bank. That's 2% higher. This is also contributed by the PSU banks. That's contributors that are really up this move for the Nifty. Reliance Industries is the one that's really contributing, 57 points higher. And apart from that, it's all the banks. It's ICICI Bank, it's HDFC Bank, it's L&T, it's SBI. Bharti Airtel, these are the ones that are actually contributing very, very strongly to all the move in the markets and the Nifty that we see right now. The only one index that's down in the red is India VIX. That's down by about 0.5%. 16 levels is what you see the India VIX really trading at this point in time. But all across the board, strong moves, 4% uptick for PSU banks, oil and gas up 3.5%, realty up 3%, you have infra stocks up 2.5%, small caps about 2% higher in trade, mid caps about 2% higher in trade as well, autos, metals, FMCG, pharma, they're all up and about in trade. So across the board, a broad-based buying that's unfolded for the markets in trade today, largely led by also the sentiment on the political domestic front in Maharashtra elections as well, and of course the global cues that have been largely supported. 3.5% higher nearly for the PSU space as well. So you do see stocks like HPCL, that's up strongly, almost 6% higher is what you see HPCL at. BPCL, another 5.5% higher in trade. Very strong move coming in on these OMC majors, strong volumes on these two, 5.7 and 5.8% higher for both of these stocks. BEL we have discussed in trade, REC we have discussed, railway stocks we have discussed, how all of these stocks are coming back, the erstwhile performers coming back in trade as well is something that you have seen. BPCL, BEL, Shriram Finance, ONGC and L&T are the top movers on the Nifty. There are only 3 losers in trade. From the IT pack, it's HCL Tech and Infosys. Some profits being taken off after last week, the index level as well. You also have now this OMCs moving up strongly within the F&O space. At this point in time, PFC, REC are the other power majors also that are moving up. So a strong move across the board is what you see. In the broader markets, you have stocks like IFCI that are up in double digits, 12% higher in trade. Then you have stocks like RITES that are moving up strongly within the railway pack, RailTel as well. You have Lloyd's Metals that's up by 8%. Then you have stocks like even Bharat Dynamics within the defense space, BDL, that's also moving up strongly, 7% higher. Barma Lorry we've discussed, and now even Bikaji Foods is moving up about 5.5% higher in trade. Strong move across the board. There's enough and more to track for the market, so do stay tuned throughout the course of the day as we continue to get you what's buzzing on the T Street.
The Adani Group has been plunged into crisis for the second time in as many years. The indictment of the US Department of Justice and a civil case by the US Securities and Exchange Commission has pushed one of India's richest man into the corner again. The impact on the Adani Group is multi-pronged. The most direct impact is on the stocks of the group. The news led to a plunge in all the 10 Adani Group stocks, Adani Energy and Adani Green falling the most. The group lost nearly 16% of its market cap